the Emo Hour. Your weekly power hour of all things emo and adjacent. With your hosts, Katie and Nani.
Hello and welcome to the Emo Hour. It's your host, Nani, and my good friend, Katie. Hi, Katie.
Hi, Nani. How are you?
I'm so good. Another week. It's crazy that we're just like in the middle of summer and things are moving as fast as they are. I keep saying it. I think I'm sounding older and older because I keep talking about time.
I feel old every time. I'm like, can you believe it's halfway through July? Or can you believe it's Wednesday already? So I understand, but it just starts happening. I don't know. It just starts happening.
I know. Oh man, that, and I just bought tickets to my 20-year high school reunion, which thank goodness Kelsey's going with me because, you have to have your bestie to go with. But
oh, you had to buy tickets? I guess that makes sense.
They're doing like a $20 ticket for 20 years to help cover costs.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it does kind of make sense. So, but that probably should be what's making me emo, but
I was just going to ask, is that what's making you emo? But I know it's not.
It's not. It's this whole thing that happened at the Coldplay concert. And the internet is abuzz and it's just so wild. And I know that, it's been, I don't know, a handful of days since it happened, but like life is crazy. Life is crazy for them. If you've been living under a rock, the CEO of a company called Astronomer was, and his girlfriend, we should just say, they were at a Coldplay concert and Mistress, yeah. They're both married. They got put on a kid. You know what? Why am I talking about this? Hold on. I have a friend who was at the concert. We should see if we can just call him and have him come on the pod.
Yeah, let's do it. That sounds like fun.
Okay, we're pressing pause for a second. Oh my gosh. Okay, this is so exciting. So we were able to call my buddy Adam, who lives in Boston, and he was at the actual Coldplay show. Hi, Adam.
Hi. How's it going?
Hi, welcome.
Welcome to the Emo Hour. This is so exciting. I'm so happy that you agreed to join us on here and talk to us about your experience because I can't imagine how wild it was.
It's wild to see something viral happen in person and then wake up the next morning and be like, holy shit.
And mega viral.
Crazy. Yeah.
Like everywhere.
Everywhere.
It was nuts. Like in the moment you knew that like something was happening, like everybody around you is just like, oh shit. But like we forgot about it. We forgot that it happened until the next morning, and like somebody was like, dude, you were at that show. I'm like, yeah. They're like, oh, you saw it? I'm like, the show. It was good. Like they sounded really good. They're like, no, that dude's screwed. I'm like, oh. And then I looked online. I was like, holy hell. It like exploded. It was wild.
So take us back. So at what point in the concert, did this happen? Was it like halfway through?
Probably like a little after halfway through. They do this section, and like I gotta preface by saying like I'm not the biggest Coldplay fan. Like I had a chance to go with my wife. We had a really good time. It was a very good show. But like, I know some of the stuff, and was like, I don't know, like some of the people around us knew like, okay, well in this section they do this and then this happens.
Right.
Like, I just went to a show and was like, all right, let's see what happens. It was like a little after halfway through, they do this thing on like the B stage. So like at the end of the catwalk, like kind of like the other end of the football stadium there, where he's looking at the big screens, and he just like, they put people up on camera, and then he like makes up a little song about him on the spot, a little like 16 bar thing or something. And like, the first one was some guy's birthday, and he was wearing like a crown and a sash. And you're like, that's cool. Like, good for him. And then the next one was what everybody saw. And it's just like this older couple. And then next thing you know, that dude drops into like a Mario pipe and just disappears out of frame. And I swear to God, my wife and I just looked at each other and were like, they're cheating.
Yeah. And,
good assumption.
He calls it out in the moment too. Like, it wasn't a thing where people were like, oh, I wonder what's going on. Like everybody around you is just like, oh shit. And like there was a buzz in the stadium that was really, it was fun to be a part of. It was funny to be a part of, I think, more so than like fun. And like you have no context as to who these people are, what it was. We're just like, oh, they're cheating. Like, and that's kind of all we thought of it.
And
Yeah.
then did he still make a song up about them, or did he go on to the next like kiss cam couple?
No, he went on to like another, like they put somebody else on after he called out like, oh, I think they're either shy or having an affair or whatever he phrased it as. And then they went like another person or two. Then they closed with another, like a younger couple. And he like prefaced it. He's like something along the lines of just like, are you guys a real couple? Are you a couple? Because I don't want to do this again. Like,
Oh
Yeah.
no.
yeah. Dude,
That's
the craziest thing too, though, is people don't realize like that scenario saved his ass. Because earlier in the show, he fucked up where he was. He's like, he's never mixed up the city or the location when he's talking to the crowd in 26 years, he claimed, or whatever it was. And
Okay.
he was talking about how good it is to be in Canada and all this stuff. And he's like, oh no, like caught himself. It was like, I've never done that. So you thought that was going to be the moment that people remember of just like, oh yeah, I called Boston, Canada. Like, fuck that guy. Like, nope. No,
Oh my God,
he got
no, it
saved
was-
by those cheaters.
Oh my God, for real. So like what, because you were there with your wife, did you know anybody else
Yeah.
that was there besides the two of you?
No, I mean, we had some friends that we found out were there after the fact, but like
Okay.
not sitting with us now.
Okay. Yeah, I can't imagine being part of something so viral because like it is unified. It has unified the internet at a time when things are far from unified. It is wild.
Yeah.
And
went
the kiss cam
so
jokes that are
big
happening
so
everywhere.
fast.
So
Yeah.
fast.
Like the Savannah Bananas the next night, I think, were
Yep.
like reenacting that with their players. Like
Yeah.
it went. I saw the Philly Fanatic and like the wife of the Philly Fanatic doing it like within 12 hours of it happening or 20 hours or whatever. Like, oh man, it's
Oh, and
the
like-
fastest moving thing I've ever experienced.
Yeah, for sure. And you had no idea at the time that it was like a higher level person or two higher level people in the same company, and that like that makes
No.
it even more scandalous. That's why it blew up so quickly, I would say.
Yeah, I do think it is hilarious that it was the head of HR. Just like that's just like something that if you were writing it, you'd be like, well, this would be funny. Like, let's have them have that job. But no, nobody in the moment knew anything about those people. And like, look, I should say too, like, I feel bad for those people's families because like
Sure.
that sucks real bad.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Also-
the public display of it.
In the words of a mutual friend of ours is Gabe, that's a terrible way to find out that your partner's into Coldplay. You know, I can't take credit
I
for
love
that, but
Gabe.
Gabe texted me that. I'm like, fuck, that's perfect, man. No, it's just like, it's such a wild thing of like, everybody found a mutual, everybody in the world somehow found something about this where they're just like, either this is hilarious, I love this, or like, fuck those guys. Or everybody had some piece of it. I was seeing articles from the UK, like I think I saw something from Singapore where they're reporting on it. I'm like, that's gotta suck so bad.
Yeah.
But also, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. Maybe don't throw that out there.
Exactly
Yeah.
that. And like if they're saying that they're going to use a camera to go around the stadium, maybe like don't be in like arms embrace with one another.
Yeah,
It's I don't know. There's so many ways that this could have been avoided, starting from like don't cheat. But yeah,
that's the first one. Yeah,
yeah, that's the
like,
biggest one, right? But oh my God, it's wild.
When is
There's also, like-
astronomer headquarters in Boston?
To be honest,
Okay.
I know nothing about that company. I have no
Yeah.
idea what they do. Couldn't care less.
Right.
I think they're around here, but yeah.
That just makes it
knows?
even a bolder move. Like if it is a Boston-based company and those are Boston higher-ups at such a huge show, just none of it
Yeah.
makes sense.
It looks like they're in New York.
I'm not sticking up for these two people at all.
Right.
No.
But imagine being like, we're going to be around 80,000 people. Like, no one's going to see us. We finally, like, we get to have our moment. And then this happens. Like, wild.
They had their moment for sure.
Yeah.
I also
Whether or
you know,
not
I'm
they
also
wanted
curious-
it.
Right? I'm curious where it is in their timeline too. Like, has this been months? Has this been days? How long has it been? So,
I mean, it's not. It
oh
wasn't the
man.
first. Is it still a date if it's an affair? Like, how does that work? I don't know. I'm not a cheater, so I don't really know.
Yeah, there's three of us that don't do that here. So, that yeah, it's wild. Well, it's what was making me emo this week because we always start our show with what's making us emo. We always close it out with our emo lyric of the day. And so, as I was talking, I was like, "Wait, this is so silly for me to talk about it because you had a firsthand experience, and
Yep.
I've already learned so much more about the scenario hearing it through your eyes too. It just sounds wild.
I will say really quick to wrap up like my side of this. What's making me emo this week about it is the fact that the statement was fake. I was so like the statement that went out where it like ended with like shitty Coldplay lyrics of just like I was like, there's no way. I bought into it, I bit, and like it made me really sad that it was fake because it was so bad that I really wanted it to be true. So that's making me emo this week.
We were talking, there's so much misinformation out on the internet right now with fake statements. There's supposedly like the daughter of Andy was like went viral on TikTok, but then there's a bunch of people who are also being like, it's my dad too. It's my dad too.
Yeah.
So
just to try to cash in.
Why is that a good thing?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Just to get views and money and clicks and all that.
Yeah, everybody
crazy.
wants to be internet famous, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh man. Well, Katie, did you have any other questions for him? We're gonna have to have him back on the pod to talk about his life in general too, because you have a very interesting life and career that we're gonna have to dive into deeper another time. But I appreciate you coming on right now and talking about this.
Yeah, thank you so much, Adam. Thanks for your time. That was awesome. And, maybe your only viral moment experience in real life.
I'd be okay with that because how are you going to top it? Like, that's it.
That, like you said, it went so fast, like 0 to 100 and
overnight.
It just caught like wildfire.
It was crazy. So
oh my God.
Thanks for letting me come reminisce.
Oh, man. This was excellent for all of us. I loved it. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Good to see you.
That was so fun. I'm so glad that he was willing to call in for a hot second and give us his take of what it was like to be at like one of the most viral moments of 2025.
Oh, absolutely. And it truly went viral overnight. Crazy.
And we didn't really touch on some of the other things that are like, he's obviously like, he's resigned from his position. There's a lot of other things going on, but I think it's more so interesting to hear like a firsthand take of somebody who was literally in the crowd because he was one of however many people fit in that stadium that experienced it that day. So, oh my God, I really enjoyed that. Hopefully you did too.
No, that was great. And I love that he gave a little disclaimer at the beginning of him not being a huge Coldplay fan.
I know. So good. Okay, so we should, I need to get this huge smile off of my face because it's just... The whole thing is so wild. But I want to know what's making you emo this week, Katie.
Well, I think this is going to be a surprise for you a little bit, but you already kind of know because we did text about it. But a couple weeks ago, I was at my dad's house and going through some old stuff. And I found this, which is like a diary that I made in high school.
That doesn't look like a diary. This looks like full-blown art.
Well, thank you. I never considered myself an artist, but it's a half inch or inch 3-ring binder, like dark blue binder that I taped stripes on with electrical tape. And then I put all these bunny stickers on it that I got at Hot Topic back in the day that
they're giving me Blink-182-ish. Energy.
Well, I mean, Blink-182 has a bunny mascot, but I've asked you about these stickers before and you had like zero recollection, but these were like a big thing to me, these bunny stickers with just like weird, quirky sayings. So the 3 bunny stickers that I have say, I know how you feel, I just don't care. And then the other one is cute but psycho, things even out. And then the other one is I hate you so bad.
Are those sound like emo Valentine stickers almost or something?
Maybe, but they were kind of an always thing. Like I had more than this, I know. But I was taped on these black electrical tape stripes on the front and I wrote in lyrics of different like emo and pop punk songs. And then on the back, I wrote in bands.
I see Finch, Story of the Year,
Taking Back Sunday,
Weezer,
Starting Line,
American
Yellow
Hi-Fi.
Card.
Oh my God. That's so epic, dude.
Yeah, so I found this and I was like, what is this? I don't really remember it. And then I opened it and there's like, there's not that many, but there's like 6 diary entries in here from early 2006. So I was like 17 years old. And I'm going to read one of them for you.
Oh my God. Yeah. God, is this your way of telling me that I need to pull out my diary that we've talked about once before? Oh no.
Exactly. So I'm going to take the first fall. And I'm a little nervous.
I'm nervous for you.
But I'm going to read an excerpt from January 22nd, 2006.
Okay.
So I was 17 years old. Again, I kind of lost steam on this. There's only like 6 or 7 journal entries over the course of a few weeks, but this one's pretty emo and dramatic, so I have to share.
Okay, I'm ready. You can be okay.
I don't even know if I can do this. Okay.
Okay.
Ready?
No, I'm not ready. But I'm ready. Okay, I'm stopping laughing. Whoo, woosah. Okay.
This is meant to be funny, by the way.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh no, is it sad?
Yeah. There's got to be more to life than this. Pointless conversations and awkward silences. Happiness on the surface. Many acquaintances, but no best friends. Nothing that you love. Nothing to really live for. Trying to get out and socialize, but not getting anywhere. This is happiness on the surface.
It's so poetic, dude.
Wait, there's more. And I did write poems. Regret for things left undone or unsaid, sadness for the life never lived, sorrow for not having the courage to love someone like what is wanted. This is what's on the inside when happiness is on the surface. That's it.
Oh my God. Okay, yes, if I read that, like that was my kids or something, I probably would be extremely worried.
Yeah.
But knowing us and looking back and think that is so unbelievable. Also, you've been so poetic your whole life.
Apparently. But yeah, I thought about that too. I was like, if one of my parents happened to see this when I was a teen, I would be like, they would have been worried.
Also, when you started off with that line, I immediately went into that song by Stacey Orico, There's Gotta Be More to Life Than This.
Oh,
like,
okay.
Is she quoting Stacey Orico in her? And I was like, is she like a closeted pop fan too?
No, that's not it. But there's more excerpts that maybe I'll read in the future. But
please, yes, that you can't stop at excerpt 1.
Oh yeah, but I read that. I was just like, oh my God. And I also just want to highlight that these lyrics that I wrote, again, I was 17. So like clearly I've always loved lyrics, hence emo lyric of the day.
Right.
There's lyrics on here from Blink-182, from American Hi-Fi, from Something Corporate, from Simple Plan and Green Day. So
I'm sorry, I haven't moved past your poem. I'm here.
I'm trying to move past it.
I'm here, you're talking, but I'm still back with the poem. Katie, okay, aside from the fact that like those words are like longing for connection and all these other things, but like there's like talent there.
Oh, thank you.
No, but I'm like, think about a 17-year-old kid who's super angsty and feeling all the emotions and trying to navigate life and whatever, and you put pen to paper and wrote that.
I did in 2006.
What if you were supposed to be the next Avril Lavigne and we didn't even know it?
Well, maybe a songwriter, but not musical ability. But I mean, I've always liked writing. I think that, and that's what I do a lot of as a lawyer. Like it's boring writing, but I write a lot.
Yeah.
So writing has always been something that I've really enjoyed.
That makes sense. That's what they call a top line writer, somebody who does like lyrics and melody.
Yeah.
So, or you can also just be a lyricist, but yeah.
Right.
Oh my God. Well, thank you for that gift. That's all I have to say. Thank you for that gift.
You're welcome. And then another thing that I found when I was there, and I sent you a picture of this too, which maybe we should post this on the Instagram, our Instagram at the Emo Hour. But I found a scrapbook page that I had made. I played soccer my whole high school career, and I think there was one year where our coach wanted each of us to make like our own scrapbook page of ourselves, and then we put together like a team
Book
page, or a team scrapbook. So I found the one that I made for myself, and it said favorite band Blink-182. So
it tracks, which I don't know if this is the appropriate time for this segue, but it does have a lot to do with what we're talking about this week.
it does. So today is a book recap of Mark Hoppus's book, Fahrenheit-182.
Fahrenheit-182. Okay, so I have to ask, did you listen or did you read this?
I listened to it. It came out in April, so I was a couple months behind. But in that span of time, he did a bunch of press and book tour and stuff. So I watched a bunch of his interviews, listened to podcasts. Like I did a lot of things that weren't reading the book. And part of me worried that I had kind of heard it through that, you know what I mean? And like reading articles and reading, and the podcast that we listened to together, the One Life, One Chance podcast, talked about a lot of stories.
That's what I was just going to ask you, because that was one like piece of feedback, because we listened to that, I think on the way to see Brand New, maybe it was.
Yeah.
And there was like I felt like every sentence, it was an excerpt from the book. So I'm curious if you felt like you ruined it ahead of time by doing all of that.
I kind of thought that I would have, and I absolutely not is my impression. Like there was so much more in the book that I hadn't seen or hadn't heard, on that podcast or on all the other like interviews and stuff that I watched, because he was on like Good Morning America. Like he's been doing all these things and I've been watching all of them
On the press tour.
But there was so much more than what I already knew. So if you have the same concern, I would say that shouldn't be a concern, because it was a great book. Like, and everything that I've read or heard about people who have read it or listened to it is that they got through it so quickly, because it's just like you want to keep listening. It's just so good. It's well written. It engages you. And listening to it like I did, it's Mark actually reading it.
Yeah, I was going to ask. So he is reading it. How is it listening to his voice? Is he a good reader?
Yeah, I think he's a great reader, and it's just his inflection, and you can feel some emotion in his voice, and it's just really interesting to hear it directly from his mouth. The one thing you don't get if you listen to it is the actual book has a bunch of pictures throughout it.
Okay.
So I didn't get that, but it's on Spotify to listen to for free if you have a membership, which I was surprised to hear that. I didn't even have to buy it, but I think I might buy the hard copy of the book because I want to see all the pictures throughout it.
You're also a true fan. I'm surprised you waited this long to actually listen to it. It's been months since it came out, so
I know.
But that's good. I mean, it's fresh in the brain, so
yeah, it's a commitment, and I listened to it when I was going on a drive and when I was at my dad's house, like on my way there and back, because I wanted to be able to like listen to good chunks of it instead of listening to like 20 or 30-minute chunks and like taking some time to get through it. So I was waiting until I had like a trip planned where I wasn't going to be with my daughter specifically, because I wouldn't be able to listen to it with a toddler screaming,
Totally.
So that's like off the top, I would say. It's great to listen to. It's also great to just learn so much more. The first several chapters of the book are really a lot about his upbringing and childhood, and that's something that he doesn't talk about in other places so much. Like, and the stories that they talk about on GMA and these other podcasts are more, band-related stories, not necessarily his childhood and upbringing. But he was a military brat who lived in the desert in California and moved around all the time and like assumed different identities depending on where he was, and always felt like the outcast, and then started just kind of not giving a shit anymore and doing whatever he wanted to do. Like he talks about taking a lot of inspiration from bands like The Cure and Robert Smith, and wearing like eyeliner and red lipstick and being made fun of for being a gay boy, and how he would just like lean into it, which is what he and Tom do now, is just like call each other gay all the time.
Which is also like anybody who feels the need to make fun of. I feel like he handled it the appropriate way. So
yeah.
I can't imagine what that was like, because moving around and not having like a sense of security outside of just like your family, that's got to be tough on a kid.
Yeah. And he talks about a lot about like, the nuclear family and how his parents getting a divorce really hit him very hard. And
How old was he?
He was young. He was like 5.
Okay, so it wasn't like in high school.
No.
Okay.
But then like his mom dated some really awful people. He witnessed some like abuse of his mom with a man that they were living with for a while, and like had nowhere to go, nowhere to leave. And then like there's some really sad and awful things. And like his parents, he would just listen to his parents fight. And that's a lot of the theme of Adam's song, and spilling the apple juice in the hall, which a lot of people know that lyric is him like sitting outside of his parents' door, like listening to them fight. And then he knocks his cup over and his parents like get silent, and then they come out and be like, what are you doing? Like, don't listen to us fight. And his parents it never talked about them being like physically abusive. They just deteriorate. Their relationship just deteriorated,
Right.
And then like he says he loves both of his parents very much, and he has a sister. But he just talks about how horrible it was for the family to just break apart and how that really has affected him a lot. And it affects most people,
Right.
in different levels.
We both come from divorced homes too.
Yeah. And he talks about awkward exchanges where one parent would have one of them. So like he would be with his dad and his sister would be with his mom, and they would meet in a park and exchange. So they would each stand like 100 yards away from each other, and the kids would just like cross paths. And like
That sounds like a prisoner exchange.
yeah, that's gonna make you feel something when you're doing it like that. And then, his mom dating some not good people, and things just not going well. And then he moved with his dad over to the East Coast for a while. And he talks a lot about that and just like the change in his life living with his dad. And it was his parents basically said, it's up to you. What do you guys want to do? And his sister said, I want to go with you, Mom. And Mark was like, well, to be fair, I guess I should go with Dad. But he's like, I kind of wanted to go with my mom. Mom felt like home, but like I didn't want my dad to feel left out.
Wow.
And again, it was like not because he didn't love his dad. It was just,
right.
Yeah.
Also, like you're young. You don't know. You're not developed. But that's like culturally speaking too, to go from West Coast to East Coast, like that. Those are very different. Very different. I can say that because I've lived in both places, right? I made a big circle, but like to go from West Coast energy to East Coast energy is pretty like starkly different, especially for, I don't know, 12-year-old, however old he was.
Right. Well, and it goes, California desert to living in a city on the East Coast. But that's really where he started to get more and more into music, and like went to his first show and was like, oh my God, this is incredible. I want to do this. So it's just like, it talks a lot about his upbringing and different anecdotes through that time. And like, we're not doing an in-depth book review where I'm going to talk about every chapter
Right.
by chapter, but it was just really interesting and really humanized him in a way for people like me who have been fans of his for forever. And,
Right.
He's a superstar in my mind. And it's like, he wasn't always. Like, he grew up in a freaking mobile home in the desert. And then his parents got divorced, and that was really rough. And then he moved with his dad. And yeah, it's just, then it just talks about him feeling kind of lost, like all through high school. And he didn't go to college, and he was like, I don't know what I'm doing here. And his dad basically was like, okay, you got to get the hell out. You got to move on with your life. So he moved back when he was in his like early 20s. He moved back to San Diego. And the crazy thing about him moving back to San Diego, that's where his sister was living. So he hung out with his sister on the first day, and his sister's friend was dating Tom DeLonge. So his first day back in San Diego is when he met Tom DeLonge. His first day.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Also serendipitous. Also, like, what's meant for you is going to find you type thing.
Yeah.
Sorry, getting into my Delulu woo-woo stuff, but like, that's pretty wild.
Yeah, the first day. And Mark had been in these bands on the East Coast, like just like high school, whatever. They were playing like tiny shows. He talks a lot about that too. And then when he moved, he was like, oh, I'd love to get involved in a band again. And so his sister, Anne, was like, oh, my friend's dating this guy, Tom. He wants to get a band going too. Like, let's go meet him. So those two hung out that day. And Mark had like a bass riff that he'd been working on. And Tom had a riff that he had been working on, and they were like, well, play it for me. And they played it together, and they were like, this works. Like, how bizarre is that? That like the weeks leading up to them meeting,
both independently. Yeah.
They both had independently been working on these riffs that they played together. And then on the first day that they ever met, they wrote the song Carousel, which they played when we saw them at least 2 years ago, their reunion tour. And what?
That's, again, it's like kismet.
Yeah, it's so crazy. So he also goes through just like the creation of the band, finding Scott Rayner, who was their original drummer, and some of their initial tours, like gets really into detail in all of these initial tours and like signing with a label for the first time. Well, before they signed with the label, they had an independent release, Buddha, and just like the process of that. And it's really funny. That's when you start to hear about Tom and Mark's personalities. And he very much is like, Tom is a dreamer and he has a vision and he wants something and he goes for it.
Right.
And Mark's like, I'm not that way at all. I'm more pragmatic, but I'm also like, Tom has the vision and I'm going to like work to make it happen.
Right. What do they call that? It's like the visionary implementer type thing.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people that own businesses, they'll have the visionary and then the implementer, because you can't all be visionaries, right?
Yeah.
Got to actually have somebody like make it happen.
Right. So that's when you really start to hear about their personalities, which comes throughout the entire thing. But they got some money to make Buddha, and Tom was like, we got to start selling it. We got to, take it to record stores. And they did. And also just how different things were then, to like put things on a cassette tape and sell it in a record store. I can't get into all the details. I really just think you should listen to the book to like hear about the creation of these albums in the early days. And then it talks about their touring. I will also say, maybe this is a good time to say, so Mark was in a bunch of bands before forming Blink, and I took notes of the band names because I thought they were so funny. So the very first band that Mark was in was called I Like Eggs. Like, okay. And then the next band was Pier 69.
Of course it was.
Yeah.
Was it P like pier as in like I'm peering in, but I imagine it was pier as in like on the water.
Yeah, Pier is in on the water. The next band was called Of All the Things, which I guess was because one of the bandmates' moms would always say, like, of all the things, this is what you go and do.
Oh my God.
So they called it Of All the Things. And then when he met Tom had been in a band called Big Oily Men. I love band names,
Yeah. Well, especially when it's this. Like, come on. That's wild.
Mark had also been in a band called Duct Tape.
I like that name.
And duct tape is very big in the skateboarding world. Like, people tape their shoes and they use a lot of duct tape. So that makes sense because they were really into skateboarding.
Yeah.
Then there was a band called Figure 8 that Mark was in. And then finally, Blink, which, as we know, turned into Blink-182 eventually. And this is a little out of order, but when they started gaining some notoriety and success, they got a cease and desist from some like Irish techno band that was called Blink that said like, you need to change your name. And they were already signed to a label, and the label was like, okay, change your name. And Mark and Tom were just like, just like kicking it down the road. They didn't want to. And then finally the label was like, okay, you need to do it by tomorrow or else we're going to pick a name for you. So Tom was just like, Blink-182. And they were like, okay, Blink-182. And that's what they went with. And if you know, and you and I have talked about this, then there's been so many different like fan theories and ideas about where the 182 comes from.
Right. Isn't there like the Godfather one? What's the Godfather one?
About how many times they say the word fuck in The Godfather. Like, that's not true. The producer of The Godfather, I think, or the director actually like watched the movie, counted it.
He's
and
like,
got
it's
a hold of
163.
Mark and was like, this isn't right. And they were like, it was just a joke. I don't know. And there was some other story about like that was the name of the boat that Mark's grandpa was in during a war. It's like none of that is true. It's just,
but we don't know what it is. Like, it's never publicly come out.
Well, no, it was literally Tom said, "How about 182?" And that's it. Like, there was no thought behind it, is what I'm saying.
Oh my God. He probably was like sitting in a car or something. Well, maybe not even sitting in a car, because did we have cell phones back then? But
they were at the skate park.
Yeah, it was probably like he saw a 1 and an 8 and a 2.
Yeah. So no thought behind it at all, is what I've gathered.
My
which
God.
is crazy. But it's really interesting to hear about like the uprising and the gain in popularity from Blink-182. Mark is like, this is more than I could have ever imagined, but Tom wanted more. Like Tom had all these ideas to do more, to do more, to do more. And Mark was just like, I'm good, but like, of course he enjoyed the success of it. But I think Tom was very much a motivator for all of these things. So they also had a stalker in the early days. That's something that I haven't heard talked about. There was somebody that was stalking all three of them. This is after Travis joined the band, and their wives, and had pictures of all of their houses and like schedules of when they would be in and out and doing things. And they called the police on the stalker, and the police were basically like, sorry, we can't do anything right now. Technically, nothing is illegal. But that kind of started Mark on this train of being like paranoid, and they moved to a gated community. But there's also this story in the book about they were doing a signing, an album signing, and the stalker came to it and like wanted her album signed. And Mark and Tom both like signed it without looking at her, just like had their head down and signed it. And then I got to Travis, and Travis was like, no, fuck off. You've stalked us. You have pictures of our wives. I'm not signing this shit. I was like, okay. So Travis is the one that has some balls to shut this down.
Some chutzpah. I've always been curious about stalkers. I don't want to like send us off in a different direction, but like I just don't understand how that happens. Like to be that we also live in a world now, like back then it was very different. We live in a world now where all of our information is everywhere, and like I believe that there is no privacy really. Yeah. But yeah, I can't imagine. That would have been so jarring and so uncomfortable, and I just don't get how stalkers come to be. But then again, I'm not in the brain of one.
Right. Well, there's clearly, something not quite right mentally in them. But also nowadays, like I feel like stalkers can be like more prevalent, but maybe on a lesser level, because it's so much easier to feel like you have a connection with a celebrity because of Instagram, because of all these things. And that's called a parasocial relationship. But like, dude, I'm not a stalker. Let's make that clear. But to a point, like I feel like I kind of know Mark Hoppus, especially after reading this memoir, you know?
Right.
And so
but I would say that that's correct though. I mean, like he chose to put these words out in public. Like there's no way to not feel closer. You probably know more about Mark through his book than you do about some other people in your life, right?
Yeah.
But that was a choice that he made to put the book out.
Yeah, absolutely.
So interesting. Okay, sorry. I didn't mean to turn us left. Let's get back on track.
That's okay. I just thought that was interesting. And the fact that like Tom and Mark just like signed it but didn't engage or look at her.
Yeah. And Travis is like, get out of here.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that there wasn't a bodyguard that like whisked her away or like didn't allow her to come in at all. And I'm assuming it's a she. Is it a she?
It was definitely a she. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't remember. I assume probably security was there, but maybe they just didn't know,
catch it.
like it happened kind of fast. Who knows? So they also talk a lot about going on tour with Pennywise, which is just kind of funny. Pennywise really like hazed them in a like what seems like a friendly, but also like fuck you kind of way, in a friendly way. And they talk about just like playing pranks on each other all the time. And like Pennywise pulled some shit on them, I will say. But I think it was all in good fun. But like hazing, truly like we're the old bosses around here and you guys are like the young idiots. So like get a load of this. But some of it was a little extreme.
Yeah, I wonder, but I also wonder if that created a bond with each other that like I feel like later down the line, like when Warped Tour came to be, Pennywise was like, you're putting this band on Warped Tour, or like you're doing this. If I remember that correctly from one of the podcasts that we listened to, because we listened to a couple really long podcasts on that drive together.
We did, yeah. And the Warped Tour was a big part, I think, of their connection too. Let's see. They also went on tour. They did a Pop Disaster tour with Green Day where they were co-headliners. And they talk a lot about that. And that's in quite a few of the interviews. If you watch some of the interviews of Mark talking about this tour. And there's some like real kind of bad blood between Blink-182 and Green Day, which is kind of interesting. But you've mentioned this to me before. I would have never noticed this. But as co-headliners, there's so much thought that goes into what is the font size on the poster? How much time do we get? Who gets to use pyrotechnics? Who gets to use this? Who gets to use that? Blah, blah, blah. And he went into all of that.
Every single thing is a decision.
Yeah, which I
or a
was like,
negotiation for that matter.
yeah. So Blink got like they were the last band, but Green Day like threw their dick around, for lack of a better phrase, and like didn't want to play until the sun started setting, and so kind of screwed over Blink a couple times because Blink would have to shorten their set because Green Day
sound ordinances.
Yeah, Green Day would just be like, no, sorry, we're starting when the sun is setting. And that means that they would play their entire set. And Mark was also like, Green Day was there to play. Like they were working out before the shows. They had like a perfect, like manicured set. Like they were professionals. And this was like their big tour. And they were like, we were still kind of idiots, like playing on stage. So it kind of motivated Blink to step up their game.
Oh, wow.
But it also, Green Day kind of threw their weight around, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's true. Like he talks about all these decisions about pyrotechnics. Like I think Blink was using pyrotechnics and Green Day was using something else. And it's just like all of that was very much a decision, which is kind of crazy.
Wow. That's cool that he talked about that. I want to listen to the book just to hear that specific. There's a few things that you've said, but this one really gets me. So,
Yeah. And he's basically said, you know, anytime we see anybody from Green Day, like we're cordial, but like they never
still to this day.
Still to this day. Yeah.
Wow.
Like, we were never friends. We aren't friends now, or like we're fine. We're cordial. But he starts it out, I guess, by saying he thinks that Green Day felt slighted by like opening for Blink, even though they were co-headlining on this tour.
To be fair, they were two alternative rock bands coming up around the same time. Like
Green Day had been around longer, like been more popular longer.
Okay, interesting. So that's also a good agent. Whoever, I don't know who their agent was or is currently off the top of my head, but yeah, that's a good agent to make some of that stuff happen, because that's a big look, especially if Green Day had already been decently large for some time at that point.
Yeah.
So, well, it's cool that it became a motivator for him.
Yeah, definitely. And then he talks about the creation of the more artistic, you know, like more musical, more just a different kind of a record. And they took it to their label and they were like so proud of it. And they're like, this is the most like artistic thing that we've done so far. And the label was like, yeah, but you're missing some songs for the radio, really. Like there's no singles on here. And Mark and Tom were both like, fuck you. We're really proud of this. So both of them went home that night and wrote a song for the radio.
Mm-hmm.
So Mark wrote the rock show that night, and Tom wrote First Date that night. And those are two of their like most popular songs ever. Isn't that crazy too?
You hear these stories time and time again with musicians where it was like, it was down to the 11th hour and the label said this or something, or the record didn't feel finished, or somebody said we didn't have a hit, and then they create it in like a second, and then it truly does become like, it's probably because these are songs where like they're not even thinking and they're like, okay, it's either like we're doing this to appease or we're doing this because we actually think we need another song on the record. But yeah, it doesn't surprise me, and it's also like nuts.
Right. Well, and the fact that they both did that without talking about it too.
Yeah.
So they came back together the next day. They were like, okay, I wrote this song. And the rock show and First Day are both pretty basic, cheesy songs. So but that totally makes sense, right? They threw it together that night, but they're fun and they're catchy.
Yep. Well, and that's one thing that Blink is so well known for, is like they are excellent songwriters for writing songs that will get stuck in your head and you want to just keep listening to it. At least that's what I think.
Yeah.
It's a gift
Absolutely.
to be able to write those types of songs.
Totally. So this has made some headlines too. He talks about this awkward first date that he went on with Melissa Joan Hart.
Oh, yeah.
Which Melissa Joan Hart, I guess, has since come out and said, like, I don't even remember this date. which Mark has said, perfect. I'm so glad. Because he was like, I wasn't trying to throw her under the bus at all. It's just that we had zero connection. You know, like she was perfectly nice. She was like she was a great person. It's just like there was nothing there.
Yeah.
And he talks about how he would try to ask her like, well, what do you like to read? What do you like to eat? And her responses were, I usually just read TV scripts and I eat like whatever catering has, you know? So he just didn't feel anything there. But that night after that date, he went home and called Sky Hoppus, who he had just recently met, who is his wife now. Well, it wasn't Sky Hoppus then, obviously.
But soon to be.
He called her. She was an MTV executive, and they had met a couple times because Blink-182 was on MTV all the time. And he talks a lot about that, like flying back and forth to do MTV spots that were, you know, a couple minutes, but they would like fly across the country to do it.
But it was a huge deal. TRL was a huge deal back then.
Huge deal.
And that would make or break a record. Yeah.
Yeah. Blink was on there all the time. So Sky was an MTV exec. So they had met and he called her that night and they talked like all night long. And she had already shut him down saying that she doesn't date artists. So it took a while for her to break down. But now, like you and I have talked about this, they've been married for like 25 years now.
So cool.
That's so cool in the music industry.
You don't hear that stuff very often. So yeah, I love that.
He talks about, this is scattered, I'm sorry, but these are some of the highlights.
This is your book report. Nothing can be scattered when it's your book report. You are making me want to read it. So you're doing a service to Mark.
Good. They do talk about Travis's plane crash. Mark had been with Travis like that day or the day before, and Travis flew out for like one thing and was going to come right back. And then the plane crash happened and he was so like, he's fine now, but his body was so burned. And Mark just was like, I got this call that Travis had been in an accident. And then I went to the hospital and he's like, it really made Travis and I grow a lot closer. He had 3rd-degree burns over so much of his body. Mark was like, I'd go visit him every single day for weeks or months. And he was like, it took months before Travis was like himself again.
Do we know if Tom was going and visiting him separately at the same time?
I don't know. That was definitely a time where Tom was on the outs with them.
Yeah.
So, and Mark, I couldn't really speak to what was going on there himself, you know. But that's kind of a good transition. So, obviously, talk about both of the band breakups. And the first one was really when Tom was starting Boxcar Racer.
Right.
And he had like called Mark up one day and said, hey, like I'm hanging out with this other guy. We're just like playing some guitar, writing some songs. It's not a big deal. You know, it's just kind of, I want like a different creative outlet. So it seemed very chill and not a big deal. And then it turned into Boxcar Racer, which was, Travis was on that record.
Yep.
And Tom got like the same manager for that band, the same booking agent, the same record label. I don't remember exactly, but Mark was like, it was Blink-182 without me.
Yeah.
And it really hit him hard. And he expressed that he's like, I can't even fathom wanting to do anything else but Blink. Like, this just doesn't make any sense to me. And it felt so personal and so slighted because it was so much of Blink, but not Mark. And I think that's fair. Like, I think anybody would feel that way.
Yeah.
But he does talk about Plus 44 and Simple Creatures. Those are Mark's 2 side projects. So he does talk about like how he really enjoyed making the Plus 44 record and was really proud of that. And they did some touring, but he also was like, you know, one of our first shows was at, like for VIPs at some restaurant. And I was like, I just played stadiums last year with Blink-182 and now I'm playing at some restaurant.
It's humbling. Yeah, I'm sure the difference in venue and whatnot is like extremely humbling, combined with like the emotional trauma of having something like that. That's a lot. Did it talk about Angels and Airwaves?
Yeah, so it does. And it talks about also when Tom came back to the band after, which was really after the plane crash, I guess.
Right.
But Mark also talks about how it wasn't the same. Like, even though Tom was back, they recorded and released a record, Neighborhoods. He's like, it just wasn't, we still weren't really vibing the same as we used to. We weren't there. Like, Tom would show up and just like go straight to his dressing room. They wouldn't like bullshit. Like, they would do their banter on stage, but he's like, it just felt like we were going through the motions. It didn't feel like we were
mechanical
friends again.
Yeah,
And
the 2008 is when the plane crash was. So when did that record come out? Like a year later, maybe?
Neighborhoods? No, Neighborhoods was maybe like 2011.
Okay, so a couple years later.
Yeah.
Dang. Huh.
But it's pretty amazing to hear how bad it got with Tom. And Mark is very honest about it. He's like, we weren't talking to each other. We used to be best friends, and now we only talk through management and lawyers. Like, we're paying top dollar attorneys to talk to each other when this is a kid that I used to skateboard with and go write songs in our bedrooms together.
Yeah.
Like, it's just kind of nuts how bad it got. And when they got back together, it
What was the catalyst for them getting back together? Was it Mark's cancer?
no, the first time I would say it was Travis's plane crash.
Right, but the second time, after it being like more of a forced rekindling to now
Yeah.
like what it now we now like know as a very authentic rekindling. Which, can I just put a little asterisk in this story and say that you and I both knew that they had independently of one another found places in Sun Valley, and they like I don't think that because they weren't back then. I don't know, it was like 8 or 9 years ago, probably
Right.
when this was happening. They were both independently coming here, and I'd be texting some friends and be like, Mark and Tom are both here. Like, is this what's happening? They're like,
Yeah.
no, they just like both go there. But at this point, they weren't really talking.
Right, exactly. So they did break up again. Then Matt Skiba came on board, and Mark talks about that and how
Right.
just like Matt Skiba is awesome and it's all love there, and
Yeah.
Matt was a great person to collaborate with Blink. And then Mark's cancer. Mark got diagnosed with cancer, so he talks a lot about that. He talks a lot about chemo, and he reads some journal entries, just like I did, but about his time in treatment. So those are very real, very raw. He and Tom, at the time he was diagnosed with cancer, they were like cordial and would, Merry Christmas, Happy Birthday type thing,
Mm-hmm.
but they weren't like best buds, and they really reconnected after Mark was diagnosed with cancer. Like Mark said, Tom really showed up for me every day, whether it was just like checking in to see how I was or like sending me something funny to laugh at. So it really just like got them back together, which was really good to see. And that was all, Angels and Airwaves, I think, was a big part of the second breakup, because Tom still wanted that like separate creativity, and like he wanted to do something different. And so that was a big part of that. What else? So the book ends, unless you have other questions about like, he talks a lot about the cancer stuff. It's just pretty down.
I wonder if they needed any other like mediation, like if they were able to figure all this out together on their own, or if there were some other like professional parties that came into play here to help them talk through like their emotions, or maybe independently they were both doing therapy or something to help them kind of understand why they both were probably hurt and how to like express to one another, or maybe it was just age that got them there. But it's awesome that they were able to get there, because age doesn't necessarily correlate to the ability to process emotions and speak to another person about your emotions.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And I know he did make some comment about, once we got back together, we like sat down and we had a lot of conversations about like, what does everyone need from this? Like, so I think that made a big difference, just setting the expectation, setting the boundary.
Yeah.
Also, I guess I should say, I know a big part of the first breakup was Tom had a wife and child at home, and Mark did too. But like Tom was just having a bigger challenge with like touring and leaving his child behind.
Right.
He also, there's so much in this book. Mark lived in London for a few years. He talks a lot about that and how awesome that was.
Yeah.
The idea was that was going to be a year, turned into 3, I think.
Wow.
But the book ends, the cancer, that was an accident of how that was announced to the world. He posted it on social media by accident. Like he meant to just send it to like his close friends group on Instagram, but instead it posted everywhere.
I completely forgot about that. I remember hearing that. That's just so crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. Like it was a picture of him bald I think, by a toilet, like, because he had been vomiting from chemo. And it was some like kitschy
Just
thing. It was like,
making
one
fun
cancer
of
treatment,
something.
please. And it's sent to everybody. And then his manager or somebody called him, was like, did you mean to do that? Like, what's going on? And he, in his like hazy state from chemo, had to like release a statement to somebody. So he sent it to his friend who's a radio DJ, and his friend like read it on the radio live. But he and Sky like pulled over on the side of the road and wrote a statement up because he had accidentally posted that he had cancer.
Shoot. Oh my
Wild,
God.
right?
I mean, that's a fire drill right there.
Yeah.
Damn.
So one thing that he says throughout the book, I definitely want to say this. He says this multiple times in the book, and I thought I caught it the first time, and then he kept saying it. But he talks about how 1 in a million happens to me all the time. Like, he says that multiple times, and it's just so true. And I mean, I'm obviously a big Blink-182 fan, but their story and Mark's story is so crazy. Like, it's just a great story, you know? And obviously there's been some major ups, some major downs, but he says that consistently throughout the book. Like, 1 in a million happens to me all the time.
Do you think that that's a true statement for most people in life, and they don't take a minute to realize that those moments that do happen to them in their life?
I'm not following.
Well, like, do you think you also have a lot of these 1 in a million things that happen to you?
No.
You don't? Okay.
Do you?
I do.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you've also led a more interesting life than me.
No, but like, I think that a lot of the reason I'm asking the question, I suppose, is I think that a lot of people have these moments in their life, and they maybe don't register it when it's happening, or they don't whatever. Like, I think back to just this past weekend, being up at Sawtooth Lake and having just like one of the most beautiful weekend days up there. Like, to me, that's also considered 1 in a million. He might be referencing his cancer, but like, I think I just generally think about life in those terms, just because sometimes we forget to slow down and like see what it is that we're experiencing. I mean, for him, it might be performing in front of 20,000 people. So like, there are instances in which like we'll never have those specific 1 in a million moments, but I think we all individually have kind of our own version of them. Like, me being on The Price is Right, like, that's 1 in a million.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So,
well,
yeah,
I love that.
I don't know. That's, again, I think I might be in my woo-woo phase, but we're fine.
You are. You are.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, he's talking about it in terms of Blink's major success and being diagnosed with cancer and then being in remission. And he also talks a lot about just anxiety, struggling with anxiety and depression and OCD. And he became like a huge germaphobe, especially after his son was born.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
Basically, like, the germs are coming to kill me. And then the pandemic happened, and he was like, oh my God, I was right. Like, 1 in a million happens to me all the time.
I was right all along. They're coming.
Yeah. So that's another just overall theme in the book. He's very relatable. Like I said, it humanized him a lot, but it also is very relatable that he has all these struggles. Like, he talks about meet and greets where he's shaking people's hands and being like not wanting to shake people's hands just because of the germs. And like, that's something that people deal with all the time, especially COVID and post-COVID, you know?
Right.
He was ahead of the game though there. Like, that was such a stressor for him.
Yeah.
Okay, this has been long enough, I think, for now, but it's a very good book. I really, really enjoyed it. I listened to it. I think I might also read it just because it was so good.
Well, and you haven't seen the pictures. You need to see the pictures.
I haven't seen the pictures. It ends with them taking the stage at Coachella 2023 for their reunion show.
Oh.
So it also makes me wonder, like, is there going to be a part 2 out? Because it really doesn't talk too much about the creation of the One More Time album, you know, or like the 2 tours that they've gone on since then. And there's just a lot more, I hope, that's to happen, you know, in the Blink world.
I think it does lend itself to kind of an open-endedness, if you will, but also that is a great, no pun intended, but that's a great bookend, because it, like, formation to like a true reunion where everybody was like brothers again, like that. Yeah, that's a very cool way to mark the different sections of the timeline. And then that was such an iconic moment when they came back.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what it was like being in that crowd watching them. I did watch it from the comfort of my living room. I do remember that.
Yeah. When it was a it was a last minute cancellation. Frank Ocean canceled, so
Right.
Blink took over.
Yeah, you gotta love those last minute cancellations. That was like this past year. It was oh my god, Ed Sheeran.
Oh yeah, right.
He played at like 4:00 in the middle of the afternoon. Everybody's like, "Is this real?" Yeah, it's real.
Yeah.
It was Ed Sheeran.
Yeah, it's real.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for listening. I feel like that was much longer than I was expecting, but
No,
it's so
I think
good.
it was really interesting, and I love hearing you talking about something that you are so passionate about. And so, like I said, your book report gave me more interest in actually reading or listening to the book. And so, yeah, I thought it was great.
And I just had a thought that I'm going to buy it and I'm going to take it with me everywhere until I see him, and then he can sign it.
That sounds like a lot of work, but yes, okay.
I'm just kidding.
I'm never taking this backpack off.
I mean,
Oh wait, he's walking by right now.
yeah, there he is. I mean,
There he
I
is.
do often have a backpack with me because I have a toddler. So
Oh yeah, just put it in your diaper bag. Bring it out. Be like,
Yeah.
you want some germs?
I don't true. Well, that's another thing that I've thought about, because one of the things I'd like to do when I see him is like take a picture with him. And I think he would be friendly and fine to do that. But I'm like, he probably doesn't want to touch people.
Katie, he'll remember your name next time you see him. Like he's just
Let's
a
hope.
steel trap. Did he talk about his memory skills?
I don't think so. No.
Oh man, that steel trap of a brain.
Steel trap. Okay, so let's get into emo lyric of the day.
I think that's.
Do you want to go first?
I think that's a good decision. Yeah, I can go first, or it doesn't matter to me. Do you have a preference?
I'm ready.
Ooh,
So,
yeah, then you should go first because I'm pulling my stuff up right now.
okay, so I chose a song from Plus 44 because we have to give Mark's, side project a little love. And it is truly, it's a great pop punk album. The Boxcar Racer album is so good. Plus 44 is also good, but let me just give a shout out to Boxcar Racer because I loved that album a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so I picked Plus 44's most famous song, which is When Your Heart Stops Beating. And the line is, I'll be there when your heart stops beating. I'll be there when your last breath's taken away.
That's really sweet.
It is very sweet, right?
I like that. I feel like that's something that you could say in your vows almost.
Yeah.
It's like a really sweet sentiment that like deep love.
Yeah, it's like I'm here for you forever.
Yeah.
It's very, very sweet, very emo.
We're all just looking for that, aren't we? I'm sorry, you already have it. I'm just looking for that.
We're going to find it.
We're going to find it. Okay. Well, again, I don't know how I'm going to win this one. I had like 3 options that I was choosing between. Let's hope I made the right decision. But they were all Coldplay songs.
Okay.
So,
Full circle.
Coldplay is very emo. If you ask me, I am a big fan of Coldplay. I've loved Coldplay since high school, and I know most all of the records really well. I went to go see them at the Gorge when I was in high school. Still to this day is one of like the biggest. I shouldn't say regret, but I do regret it in the sense that we left the Gorge early and they started playing Clocks, which is like one of their big singles, and the laser beams were coming over the top of the Gorge, and I'm like, wait, we're missing like such an epic moment, but we left early to beat the traffic because the traffic at the Gorge is horrendous.
Yeah.
If you're not camping. But I felt like this lyric was correct in relation to what was making me emo. So it's from their record Ghost Stories, their song Oh, and the lyric is, tell me you love me. If you don't, then lie to me.
Ooh,
Which I thought was kind of saucy just because of what happened.
Yes. That's very true.
I know that's a little shady of me to read that specific lyric. But I just had to, in the same way that he bookended his book, I just had to bookend this episode with a Coldplay lyric.
That was perfect.
I think you won this emo lyric of the week again.
I did.
And rightfully so, because it's a plus 44 record. So
Okay. Well, I will play it, but thank you for joining. This was a longer episode than I was expecting it to be.
I know. And thanks to Adam for calling in last minute and talking to us about his experience at the Coldplay show in Boston, aka Canada, I guess, but also Boston.
Yeah. I had actually seen that clip, but I didn't know that that was from the Boston show. I saw where he said, "It's so great to be in Canada," and then he's like, "Oh wait, that was yesterday," but I didn't know that was the same show.
Yeah. Oh, that's pretty interesting. Well, sweet. Well, happy Hump Day. We'll see you next week on the Emo Hour. And I don't know, Katie, what else? You got anything else?
Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at the Emo Hour.
How do I forget that every single time? It just, I don't know. I love his voice. See you next week.